All worlds begin with Demon Slayer. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 626 New Situation. This made Tanjiro startled, because Fusagor Zuanaya looked a little abnormal at this time. Fusagor Zuanaya threw the head of the Ghost of Sorrow aside fiercely, seeming to be a little angry. The reason why Fusagor Zuanaya was angry was that Tanjiro killed 3 ghosts, joy, anger, sorrow, and joy, while he only killed 1 ghost AI. Fusagor Zuanaya was also a strong child, so he didn't want to see Tanjiro stronger than himself, which was exactly the same as Inosuke. However, Inosuke didn't get angry, but became more motivated. The necks of the 4 ghosts of joy, anger, sorrow, and joy had all been chopped off, and Tanjiro finally breathed a sigh of relief. Tanjiro didn't pay any more attention to Fusagor Zuanaya's abnormality, but thought of Nezuko, who was still trapped under the ruins. So, Tanjiro immediately ran back to Nezuko's side, then cleaned up the ruins bit by bit, and rescued Nezuko from the ruins. Nezuko, I did it. With Zuanaya's help, the necks of the 4 ghosts were cut off at the same time. Tanjiro said to Nezuko excitedly, but Nezuko shook her head at Tanjiro, as if she wanted to express something. Tanjiro didn't understand what Nezuko meant, so he asked, "What's wrong, Nezuko?" Immediately, Nezuko pointed in a direction, as if to let Tanjiro look in the direction she pointed. Tanjiro turned around and looked over, only to find that the Ghost of Sorrow was still struggling, as if it had not died yet. This made Tanjiro stunned, and at the same time he became alert. Then, Tanjiro looked at the 3 people, joy, wrath, and anger, who fell in the sea of fire, and Tanjiro did not see any movement from the 3 people. Are the 4 of them not in a symbiotic relationship? Tanjiro couldn't help but murmur in his heart. However, the abnormality of the Demon of Sorrow did have to be guarded. Tanjiro had suffered a loss that day at Spider Mountain, not to mention that he was facing an upper rank demon this time, so Tanjiro could not help but use his nose to carefully sniff the air. With his nose distinguishing the smell, Tanjiro did not smell the smell of the demon when it died and turned into ashes, which also showed that the 4 of joy, anger, sadness, and joy might not have been killed. This conclusion surprised Tanjiro. If joy, anger, sadness, and joy could not be killed in this way, then what should be done to kill them? Tanjiro was at a loss. If the enemy could not be killed, that would be the most difficult situation to deal with. In order to prevent the Demon of Sorrow from recovering, Tanjiro could not help but rush forward and attack the Demon of Sorrow again. At the moment, when the head of the Demon of Sorrow just grew out, Tanjiro cut it off with a knife. At that moment, Tanjiro's nose caught a different smell, and this discovery made Tanjiro's heart shudder. If the previous speculations were all wrong, then joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness might not be a symbiotic relationship. Otherwise there is no reason why the 4 of them would not die after their necks were chopped off. At the same time, they did not die after their necks were chopped off, and coupled with the sudden different smell, Tanjiro could not help but have another bold guess in his heart. Most of these guesses came from the last conversation with Bai Yu, Rengoku Kyojiro, Yuzu Tenjin, and Kocho Shinobu. In that discussion, Rengoku Kyojiro, Yuzu Tenjin, and Kocho Shinobu mentioned some speculations other than symbiosis, that is, clones. If it is a clone, then the original body must be found. Chapter 627 The 5th Ghost. There are 2 types of clones. One is that the clone is completely independent from the original body, and the other is that the clone maintains a certain connection with the original body. If the clone is completely independent from the original body, the clone can be killed. Even if the original body is killed, it will not affect the clone. In this special clone relationship, there is actually no such thing as a clone and an original body, because 2 or more individuals can be independent original bodies. 2 years ago, when Tanjiro was performing his first mission in the Demon Slayer Corps, he encountered the Water Ghost, which was this kind of clone relationship. The clone maintains a certain connection with the original body, which means that the lives of the clone and the original body are connected. Because the lives are connected, the clone cannot be killed. Only by killing the original body can the clone be disintegrated. Although this clone relationship is a little similar to symbiosis, there is an essential difference between the two. Because symbiosis requires the simultaneous disintegration of multiple life forms that maintain a symbiotic relationship, so that the entire symbiotic system can collapse. As for Han Tengu's clones, they just need to find the main body and get rid of it, and these 4 clones of joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness will die naturally. Zuana still has a 5th ghost. The 5th ghost is the main body. We must find it quickly. These 4 clones are not dead, and they will probably recover soon. Only by cutting off the neck of the 5th ghost can we solve the current situation. Tanjiro immediately told Fushiguro Zuanaya the news. Upon hearing this, Fushiguro Zuanaya suddenly rushed in front of Tanjiro, grabbed Tanjiro's collar, and then said angrily, "Don't be so proud. In this case, the 5th ghost is left to me. I will definitely defeat him. I will definitely defeat the upper string demon." Fushiguro Zuanaya roared, and saliva sprayed on Tanjiro's face from time to time. "Zuanaya, your saliva is gushing out." Tanjiro couldn't help but shrink his face back and said, "I believe you can do it. Nezuko and I will do our best to help you. However, I have to trouble you and Nezuko to help me by time. My nose is very sharp, and I can find him by smell. Only by finding him can you get rid of this ghost." The angry Fushiguro Zuanaya looked at Tanjiro, who was full of sincerity. He was still angry and couldn't help but be stunned. At the same time, the anger suddenly dissipated inexplicably, as if Fushiguro Zuanaya's heart would not let him lose his temper with Tanjiro. "Please." Tanjiro begged at last. The stunned Fushiguro Zuanaya nodded slightly. "Then be careful, don't hurt Nezuko. Although she is a ghost, she is my sister, and she can fight with you." At last, Tanjiro did not forget to explain Nezuko's matter to Fushiguro Zuanaya, and then he went out without stopping to find the smell. Fushiguro Zuanaya also knew that Nezuko was a demon, but he also knew that Nezuko was not in too much danger. He also heard some things about Nezuko from other members of the Demon Slayer Corps. The hiding Han Tengu's true body became extremely timid because he knew that Tanjiro had already noticed his existence and was looking for him. "It's okay, they can't find me. It's okay. Joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness will kill that bad guy. I don't want to be bullied. I don't want to be bullied." As the true body, Han Tengu represents timidity, so he hides and does not participate in direct battles. Chapter 628, Trapped and Killed. When the battle on Tanjiro's side was slightly improved, Takito Muchiro's side was in another situation. When Tamahuma launched a fishbone attack in the direction where Tetsuke and Kotetsu were fleeing, the fact was just as Tamahuma expected. Takito Muchiro did not dodge at all, but acted as a human shield to block the attack for Tetsuke and Kotetsu. Although Takito Muchiro blocked most of the fishbone with his sword, because Takito Muchiro was standing still, he could not completely avoid Tamahuma's fishbone attack. This time, Takito Muchiro was pierced with a lot of fishbone, but Takito Muchiro remained silent, as if he could not feel the pain. "It's really funny to see fishbone all over your body." Hehe, Tamahuma couldn't help but laugh at Takito Muchiro. "My fishbone is full of venom. How do you feel now? Do you feel your hands and feet are gradually becoming numb? How can you fight me after you sacrifice yourself to save those 2 worthless lives? But, after all, you are a pillar. What kind of work of art should I make you into? Just thinking about it makes me excited." Yuhu began to mutter. "Shut up." Unable to bear it any longer, Takito Muchiro immediately attacked Yuhu. Kasumi breathing, form of freedom, horizontal slash. Then, Takito Muchiro, who launched the horizontal slash, slid quickly towards Yuhu. Takito Muchiro took the initiative to attack, because Tixuzan and Zyoti had already fled to a safe area. Just when Takito Muchiro slid in front of Yuhu and the Nichiren sword was about to touch Yuhu's neck, Yuhu had already stretched out a hand holding a small pot, and the mouth of the small pot was just facing Takito Muchiro. Then, a large amount of water gushed out from the pot, and the water immediately submerged Takito Muchiro. The water seemed to have life, actively wrapped Takito Muchiro up, and finally formed the shape of a pot. From this point, we can see how much Yuhu loves the pot. Submerged in the water, Takito Muchiro lost the opportunity to attack, and he couldn't even breathe in the water, which was undoubtedly fatal to the ghost hunters. This is also Yuhu's most effective and powerful move against the ghost hunters of the Demon Slayer Corps, and it is also the move that kills the most ghost hunters. Blood Demon Up Blood Prison Bowl. Suffocation to death. What a beautiful and elegant way to die. Unable to breathe, you ghost hunters are like a tiger with its fangs pulled out. No, it should be like a worm with its limbs cut off. So funny. Hehe. Yuhu laughed at Takito Muchiro again. Takito Muchiro did not struggle blindly because he was trapped, because this would only consume the remaining oxygen in his lungs in vain. Just wait to die here slowly. The two people you just saved will also die in my hands. It's just a pity that you can't see the process of their being killed by me. After saying that, Yuhu no longer paid attention to Takito Muchiro, but retreated into the pot. Then the pot, where Yuhu was hiding, fell down and rolled, and the direction of the rolling was exactly the direction of the wooden house where Tixuzan and Zyoti escaped. Chapter 629. Failure to escape. Facing Yuhu's departure, Shitao Muchiro was helpless and had no ability to stop him. Because at this time, Shitao Muchiro himself was in a difficult situation, and it would be futile to worry about Taizu Sen and Zyoti. Therefore, Shitao Muchiro did not think too much about these things. What he had to think about most now was how to get out of trouble. The air left in my lungs can only barely use one attack. Shitao Muchiro murmured in his heart and thought about which one he should use to most likely break through the water prison that was wrapped around him. Kasumi breathing, one form, Chushieni Anksha. Kasumi breathing, one form, Chushieni Anksha, is the most basic thrust attack of Kasumi breathing. Because if you swing the knife horizontally in the water, the resistance you encounter is huge, which will weaken the power of the attack. So Shitao Muchiro chose to use a stab, concentrating the power on one point, piercing the water prison, and then cutting the water prison horizontally. However, the expected situation was completely opposite to what happened in reality. Takito Muchiro's stab did not penetrate the water prison that wrapped him. Instead, the water flow had great toughness and plasticity, and changed its shape along with Takito Muchiro's stab. Even though the pot-shaped water prison had been greatly deformed by Takito Muchiro's powerful stab, it could not be penetrated. It seemed that there was a very tough film on the surface of the water prison, which wrapped the water flow in it. Even the piercing attack can't pierce this water wall. If the blade hadn't been damaged, it might not be like this. Takito Muchiro couldn't help but mutter, as if at that moment, he had already accepted his fate of death. After launching the attack, Takito Muchiro's lungs had even less oxygen left, which made his consciousness gradually blurred. During the period of blurred consciousness, Takito Muchiro saw the figure of Yubuayashiki Yoshiya, the head of the Demon Slayer Corps. It's good to be able to see the head before I die. Takito Muchiro couldn't help but mutter. Then, Yubuayashiki Yoya's figure slowly changed into Tanjiro's appearance. Your fate is in your own hands. The outcome of things depends on your choice. Don't give up easily. Tanjiro's voice sounded in Takito Muchiro's mind, as if this was what Tanjiro said to him at the moment. Although Takito Muchiro heard Tanjiro's voice, he was very clear and sure in his heart that Tanjiro had never said such a thing to him. It should be someone very important in his life who said this. The reason why Takito Muchiro usually looked like nothing happened was because Takito Muchiro was a person who had lost his memory. For a person who had lost his memory, his life was so out of tune with the world before he could regain his memory. On the other side, Tixuzan and Zyoti ran back to the wooden house. In the wooden house, Titezuka was concentrating on polishing the rusty Sengoku Nichirin sword. He seemed to be completely unaware of the coming of danger. Even the arrival of Tixuzan and Zyoti could not make him break away from his focused state. Tixuzan came to Titezuka and shouted at him, "Hina, the ghost has invaded the village. Stop wasting time. Come and escape with me." Chapter 630 Terrible Concentration. What a powerful sword. The swordsmith who forged this sword must have been a very powerful person. Why? Why is there no name on the blade? Such a powerful sword was forged, but only the word kill was left on the blade. Is this sword simply made to kill ghosts? Tixuzan, who was completely ignored by Titezuka, kept muttering these words, as if he was possessed, while his hands kept repolishing the sword. Seeing this, Tixazan felt helpless. For a weirdo like Tetsuka, sometimes he really couldn't do anything about him. Seeing that Tetsuka couldn't hear him at all, Tixazan immediately used the trick of tickling. As a result, this time, Tetsuka didn't react at all, as if his body had blocked all perceptions. At this time, a pot rolled into the wooden house. When Zyauti saw this, he immediately shouted to Tixazan, "Mr. Tixazan, that guy came in. What should I do?" The kelp head was not killed. Hearing this, Tixazan had to ignore Tetsuka and immediately rushed to a cabinet in the wooden house. The cabinet was full of forged Nichiren swords. Tixazan immediately found a Nichiren sword he had forged for Takito Muchiro among these numerous Nichiren swords, and took it off at once, then threw it to Zyauti, saying, "Hurry up and give the sword to Mr. Takito. I'll hold him here." Zyauti's reaction was also very fast. After taking the Nichiren sword thrown by Tixazan, he immediately went out of the window on the side of the wooden house. Yuhu just popped out of the pot and saw Zyauti escape, so he immediately threw a small pot out of the window and ignored Zyauti's whereabouts. Instead, he was quite interested in the situation in the wooden house. Tixazan took out his machete and stood in front of Gang Tezuka, alert to Yuhu. Although Tixazan knew that he would die if Yuhu attacked, Tixazan was not afraid and chose to protect Gang Tezuka. However, Yuhu was not in a hurry to attack Tixazan, because killing a scum like Tixazan was as easy as stepping on an ant. This is a place full of art, but as a ghost, the smell here is really disgusting. The Nichiren swords here are all the works of your swordsmiths. If I were not a ghost, I would definitely like these works of art you have created, Yuhu said, and then he noticed that there seemed to be someone behind Tixazan, so he said again, "Who is the person blocking behind you? Is it the village chief?" After saying that, Yuhu pointed the mouth of a pot in his hand towards Tixazan, and then a flying fish with a dagger-like fin flew out of the pot. The flying fish was like a dart and instantly cut several bloody wounds on Tixazan's chest. Tixazan had no power to defend himself and collapsed to the side. Yuhu then saw Gang Tezuka concentrating on sharpening his knife. Yuhu, who had amazing perception, was shocked because he could feel Gang Tezuka's terrible concentration. Although this concentration could not hurt Yuhu, it was the first time Yuhu had seen such a perverted concentration. Chapter 631, Rescue of Tomoka Muchiro's Little Iron. As a twisted artist, Yuhu knew how important concentration was to the creation of a work of art, so that was why Yuhu was surprised. After being surprised, Yuhu felt a little angry and jealous, because Yuhu, who considered himself an artist, knew that he had lost to Gang Tezuka at the level of an artist. It's really infuriating. Yuhu once again pointed the mouth of the pot in his hand towards Gang Tezuka, and then several flying fish darts flew towards Gang Tezuka like lightning. However, Yuhu's attack was not aimed at the vital points. Yuhu's attack was just to interrupt Gang Tezuka's concentration. Gang Tezuka, who was attacked, still did not break away from his concentration, and was still polishing the sun wheel sword in his hand. Even though the blood on his body was flowing with a lot of blood, Gang Tezuka did not seem to feel anything. Gang Tezuka. Tixazan shouted immediately. "You didn't stop this man." Yuhu was also a little frustrated and didn't know how to evaluate Gang Tezuka for a while. The next moment, the fireman mask on Gang Tezuka's face suddenly cracked, as if it was because of the attack. The broken pieces of the fireman's mask fell to the ground, and the appearance of Tetsuka was exposed at this moment. Tetsuka did not look like a big man, nor did he look rough. Instead, he looked very handsome and awe-inspiring, just like the name given to him by the village chief of TD. It really makes me very upset. It's not difficult to kill him, but my goal is not to kill him, but to completely destroy his concentration. Takito Muchiro, who was trapped in the water prison outside the wooden house, felt that his lungs were getting more and more uncomfortable, and even every heartbeat had become a huge burden on his body. Zyauti, who escaped from the window, soon saw Takito Muchiro trapped in the water prison, so Zyauti ran over and asked Takito Muchiro, "Kelphead, are you okay? I brought you the new sword forged by Mr. Tixazan. I will save you now, and I won't let you die." Zyauti said, and took out a knife from his arms, and then stabbed towards the water prison that trapped Takito Muchiro, as if he was going to break it. It's useless. Even my attack can't break it. It's even more impossible for you. Run away. You can't save me. Takito Muchiro said to Zyauti with lip language. Because you can't make a sound in the water. Even if you make a sound, you will be choked by the water. So Takito Muchiro can only communicate with Zyauti with lip language. Zyauti didn't understand Takito Muchiro's lip language, but even if he understood it, Zyauti wouldn't leave. After the attack failed, Zyauti could only choose to give up this rescue method. Then Zyauti suddenly had an idea, and suddenly put his face into the water prison, and then began to drink. This was the only effective way Zyauti could think of, to drink up all the water in the water prison. However, in that situation at the time, Zyauti had never thought that it was impossible for his stomach to drink up all the water. Although the water was very ugly, Zyauti, who was in a hurry to save people, could not care so much. Not long after, Zyauti drank too much. Then he retracted his head and gasped for breath. The water that Zyauti drank still did not improve Takito Muchiro's condition. The water in the water prison was not much less, so Zyauti had to change drinking to sucking the water into his mouth, and then spitting it out, repeating this operation. Chapter 632, Zyaute's death. Zyaute's behavior made Shitao Muchiro stunned. It can be said that Shitao Muchiro was moved by Zyaute's behavior. At that moment, countless fragments in Shitao Muchiro's mind suddenly emerged like a tide. At this moment, all the lost memories of Shitao Muchiro seemed to be found back. Just when Shitao Muchiro was moved, Shitao Muchiro saw that the danger was approaching Zyauti, so his face became panicked. Be careful. Get out of the way. In a hurry, Shitao Muchiro couldn't help but yelled to Zyauti. But because of this shout, Shitao Muchiro immediately choked on water. At the same time, it also made his lungs more uncomfortable. Zyauti, who was completely unaware of the danger approaching, was killed by the flying fish released by Yu. No. Shitao Muchiro's heart ached even more, and he watched Zyaute's head and body separate. This was undoubtedly a huge stimulation and blow to Shitao Muchiro, who had just found himself, and it was also something that Shitao Muchiro could not accept. At this time, Takito Muchiro no longer had the indifference he had when he saw Yuhu's human body art. When Takito Muchiro's heart suddenly hurt, his heartbeat stopped beating, as if the oxygen was exhausted, and his body reached its limit and began to die. At the same time, Takito Muchiro's expression was also fixed on the sad look when he saw Zyaute's death. Although Takito Muchiro's eyes were somewhat ferocious because his body reached its limit, the coming of death had made Takito Muchiro feel like he had fallen into the abyss. Only when the willpower in your heart is strong enough can you break the limit of your body and enter a new realm. This is the essence of stripes. When he was on the verge of death, Takito Muchiro's mind rang with Bai Yu's words at the meeting of the pillars. Although Takito Muchiro's body had shown signs of death, his consciousness and will did not dissipate immediately. The strong will kept telling Takito Muchiro that he could not die. He could not die. He had to avenge Zyauti. With the support of strong willpower, Shito Muchiro felt that he seemed to have broken through a barrier that was blocking him in the endless darkness. The next moment, Shito Muchiro's heart began to beat magically, and the frequency of beating continued to accelerate. The water in the water prison that wrapped Shito Muchiro also boiled strangely. The endless darkness was instantly illuminated by white light, and Shito Muchiro was resurrected again. Breathing of Kasumi, second form, Yi Kasumi. Breathing of Kasumi, second form, Yi Kasumi, the extremely fast Yi slash. In the absence of breathing and the body is still in an oxygen-free environment, Shito Muchiro's move is completely initiated by burning blood. Although this will cause certain damage to the body, the power is indeed more powerful than the state of breathing. In an instant, Shito Muchiro spliced Yi Kasumi to break the blood prison bowl of the jade pot. The water in the water prison seemed to have lost its life and could no longer maintain the pot-shaped state to wrap Shito Muchiro, and it was all spilled on the ground at once. Takito Muchiro also lay on the ground extremely weak, but he actually forgot to breathe the first moment he escaped. Chapter 633, Takito Muchiro opens the mark. When Takito Muchiro came to his senses and began to breathe again, his lungs only felt burning and stinging. The flying fish that killed Zyuote was also cut in half by Takito Muchiro when he broke the water prison. Takito Muchiro took a long time to let his body adapt again, and Takito Muchiro had already felt the abnormality of his heartbeat and body temperature, which was exactly the same as the state after Bai Yu said the marking was turned on. Takito Muchiro did what Bai Yu said about breaking through the limit of the body and relied on the strong willpower at the moment of death to reborn. Soon, Takito Muchiro saw the auspicious cloud-shaped marking on his face through the stagnant water on the ground. However, Takito Muchiro had no time to take care of these at this time, but quickly crawled to Zyuote's body. Seeing Zyuote's death again, Takito Muchiro couldn't help but shed tears of guilt. It can be said that Kotetsu died to save Takito Muchiro. Although Takito Muchiro had asked Kotetsu to leave, and Kotetsu refused to leave, perhaps he had brought it upon himself, but Takito Muchiro did not have such thoughts at this time. Because at this time, Takito Muchiro had found his original self, the kind appearance like Tanjiro, which was Takito Muchiro's original appearance. Takito Muchiro sorted out his emotions, suppressed the sadness in his heart, straightened Kotetsu's body, and put his head back on the neck of Kotetsu's body. Although this could not bring Kotetsu back to life, it could at least make Kotetsu look decent for a while. After doing this, Takito Muchiro reached out to take the brand new Nichiren sword in Kotetsu's hand. In the process of taking it away, Takito Muchiro could feel that Kotetsu was holding it tightly, but Takito Muchiro still took the sword from Kotetsu's hand. "Kotetsu, I will avenge you." Takito Muchiro finally promised Kotetsu after he stood up again. After saying that, Takito Muchiro quickly rushed to the wooden house. On the other side, in order to make Totsuka break away from his concentration, Yu had tortured Totsuka all over his body. In this process, his sworn friend Tixuzan also blocked a lot of damage for Totsuka, and his condition was also not optimistic. It can be said that, if he was tortured further, even if Totsuka had a strong concentration to be immune to pain, he would still die from the serious injuries. This man, he didn't stop even after one eye was blinded. Damn it. Yu became even more angry. Forget it. Let's just kill him directly. My patience is exhausted. If he dies, your concentration will be useless. Yu, who lost his patience, wanted to kill Totsuka. Just when Yu was about to take action, Takito Muchiro rushed into the wooden house and swung a knife at Yu's neck without saying a word. Yu, who felt the danger approaching, shrank into the pot suddenly and avoided Takito Muchiro's attack. Then, another pot suddenly appeared in another corner of the room. The jade pot popped up again from the other pot, and at the same time, he was unintentionally surprised. He actually escaped from the water prison. How did he do it? He can't use breathing, so he shouldn't be able to break my blood prison bowl. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 634, Grief and Anger. No. What's with the spots on this brat's face? I remember he didn't have them before. Is this the swordsman's marking that Lord Kokishibo mentioned? Tanjiro's brat seems to have one on his forehead as well. The swordsman who killed that lord also had this marking. I see. It seems that he broke my blood prison bowl by overdrawing his life. No. Even so, this brat was hit by my poisonous sting, and his body should have been paralyzed. Why was the attack just now faster than before? Yu, who popped up again, couldn't help but be filled with a bunch of doubts. It can be said that these were situations he had never encountered before. And among the pillars, killed by Yu and other upper rank demons, those were the pillars that had not activated or could not activate the marking. So this led the upper rank demons to think that the strength of the pillars was not enough to threaten them. Not long after Yu reappeared, Shitao Muchiro said angrily, "You will die tonight. I will use your head to sacrifice to Zyuote." After that, Shitao Muchiro rushed towards Yuhu again. Yuhu did not dare to neglect it, and immediately pointed the mouth of a pot in his hand towards Shitao Muchiro, who was rushing over. This time, the mouth of the pot did not shoot out sharp flying fish, but a large number of octopus tentacles grew out. Those tentacles were like vines, and immediately entangled Shitao Muchiro. At the same time, the wooden house was suddenly squeezed and exploded by these thick and huge octopus tentacles. From the outside of the wooden house, it seemed as if a huge octopus monster appeared in the room. And Ichiwazuka, who was concentrating on sharpening the knife, was also beaten out of the wooden house by the huge octopus tentacles. This time, Ichiwazuka was finally forced to stop sharpening the knife. However, Ichiwazuka still had no intention of stopping. At the moment of being hit, he grabbed the whetstone in his hand, then rolled to the ground to stabilize his body, and immediately put the whetstone on the ground, and then continued to concentrate on sharpening the knife. Still sharpening the knife, this guy must have a problem with his brain. Let's deal with that pillar first. Since you are so focused on sharpening the knife, I'm not afraid that you will run away. Yuhu saw that Ichiwazuka still continued to sharpen the knife, even after being hit by the octopus tentacles, and he had already chosen to accept it helplessly. And Shitao Muchiro and Ichiwazuka were tightly entangled and squeezed by the octopus tentacles. The one who couldn't stand it the most was naturally Ichiwazuka. Being squeezed by the huge pressure, Ichiwazuka wailed in pain. It can be said that, if he didn't get out of trouble, it is estimated that not only would Ichiwazuka's bones be broken, but even his internal organs would be squeezed out of his mouth like squeezing toothpaste. The attack just now was too shoddy. This time I will completely crush you, and then absorb you. Yuhu began to increase the force of the octopus tentacles, intending to directly squeeze Takito Muchiro and Ichiwazuka into meat paste. Breathing of Kasumi, second form, Yi Kasumi. While being squeezed by the octopus tentacles, Takito Muchiro still relied on his own powerful strength to withstand the huge squeezing force, and forced to use Yi Kasumi. Takito Muchiro cut off the octopus tentacles that entangled himself and Ichiwazuka in one go. How is it possible? Yuhu was shocked when he saw this. Chapter 635, The Horn of Revenge. Yuhu was shocked, so he launched an even more fierce attack on Shitao Muchiro. Blood Demon Art, Zanghu Hell. More octopus tentacles entangled Shitao Muchiro again, but this time, Shitao Muchiro did not give the tentacles a chance to spray him. Mist Breathing, 5 forms, Sea of Mist Clouds. Mist Breathing, 5 forms, Sea of Mist Clouds. This move is a derivative move of the horizontal slash, which transforms the simple attack of the horizontal slash into a fast series of slashes. After Shitao Muchiro used Sea of Mist Clouds, thick fog suddenly appeared around him, and Shitao Muchiro's figure also rushed towards Yuhu in the fog like a ghost. And those octopus tentacles that approached Shitao Muchiro were cut off by Shitao Muchiro at a speed that was difficult to detect with the naked eye. After opening the spotted pattern, Takito Muchiro's speed and movements became faster than before, even approaching the speed of Thunder Breathing, 1 form, and Thunderbolt Flash. In the blink of an eye, Takito Muchiro had already arrived in front of Yuhu and swung his knife towards Yuhu's neck. Yuhu, who realized that the situation was not right, immediately retracted into the pot and immediately moved his position. Yuhu, who moved to a tree behind Takito Muchiro, couldn't help but say with lingering fear, the speed has increased. But it still can't be helped. I can change my position to another pot at any time. Really? Next time you won't have the chance to retract into the pot, because my speed can be even faster. Takito Muchiro couldn't help but retort. Don't be so proud. I'm one of the 12 demon moons, and I can't count the number of pillars I have killed with 10 fingers. Don't underestimate me. Yuhu was very unhappy with Takito Muchiro's proud tone, so he said angrily, prepare to die. Blood Demon Art, 10,000 fish devouring the body. Blood Demon Art, 10,000 fish devouring the body. Yuhu summoned a total of 10,000 man-eating slime fish from 10 pots at the same time. Once entangled, they would instantly be gnawed into a skeleton by these man-eating slime fish. At the same time, there is toxic mucus in the body of the man-eating slime fish, and when the body is cut off, the venom will splash out. Even if it only touches the skin, The toxic mucus can still penetrate into the skin and enter the body, thereby paralyzing the enemy and making the enemy lose its combat effectiveness and mobility. The angry Yu once again launched his more powerful blood demon art to attack Tokito Muchiro. This time, the 10 small hands that grew out of Yuhu's body all held a pot, and the mouths of the pots were all facing the direction of Tokito Muchiro. The 10,000 man-eating slime fish that poured out from the 10 pots like a flood made a harsh grinding sound and pounced on Tokito Muchiro. Breathing of the clouds, landform, moon's clouds disappear. Breathing of the clouds, landform, moon's clouds disappear. A wide area slash like a glove the clouds, capable of hitting a large number of targets. Tokito Muchiro was not panicking at all in the face of 10,000 man-eating slime fish, but instead used his countermeasures very calmly. With just one swing of the sword, all the 10,000 man-eating slime fish that rushed towards Tokito Muchiro were cut off by Tokito Muchiro. All cut off? Even Yuhu was shocked again when he saw this situation. Chapter 636, the final form of the Jade Pot. Facing Shitao Muchiro's repeated attempts to dissolve his killing moves, Yuhu was really unable to accept this situation. You know, half of the pillars that Yuhu had killed before died under the move of Blood Prison Bowl. Even if the other half broke through the Blood Prison Bowl, they would either die in Chapter Pot Hell or die in this 10,000 fishes erosion body. It doesn't matter if you cut them all off. He definitely won't be able to avoid this large amount of venom sprayed out. Yuhu then comforted himself. Shitao Muchiro's body did not mean to stop and suddenly flipped in the air and then flipped out a very clever arc. Driven by his body, Shitao Muchiro used other moves. Mist breathing, 3 forms, mist spraying foam. Mist breathing, 3 forms, mist spraying foam. With the help of the body flipping and spinning, a large-scale 360-degree spinning slash was launched, and the slash would also disturb the airflow around. It was this disturbed airflow that attracted all the venom splashed from the bodies of the man-eating slime fish to the vicinity of the airflow layer disturbed by the blade. After seeing the mucus splashing out of the bodies of the man-eating slime fish, Tokito Muchiro, who had experienced many battles, knew that this mucus must not be that simple, so he thought of using the move, Flying Foam of the Clouds, to absorb the venom on the disturbed airflow layer. The reason why Tokito Muchiro could think of this was undoubtedly that he was very familiar with the details of his moves. If he didn't know, Tokito Muchiro would definitely not know that Flying Foam of the Clouds would disturb the airflow. What? The venom was actually diverted by him? Yuhu was shocked again. Tokito Muchiro, who attracted all the venom together with the airflow, finally threw all the venom onto a tree under the swing of the Nichiren sword. The tree withered all of a sudden, and a large number of leaves fell from the branches. Seeing this, Tokito Muchiro also confirmed his speculation that there was indeed something wrong with the mucus. However, Tokito Muchiro did not stop moving his body, but slid towards Yuhu like a ghost again. Yuhu also missed the opportunity to retract into the pot because of his daze just now. Tokito Muchiro's slash was already slashing towards Yuhu's neck. In order to avoid being slashed by Tokito Muchiro, Yuhu was forced to use the trick of escaping from the shell. It can actually shed its skin. What a trouble. When Tokito Muchiro cut the entire piece of skin that Yuhu shed into 2 halves with one knife, he couldn't help but mutter in his heart. Yuhu, who was forced to shed his skin, immediately rushed to a nearby tree and then gritted his teeth and said, "You are the 3rd ghost hunter who has seen my final form. No one can survive from my final form." Tokito Muchiro couldn't help but look at the sound and saw a huge black shadow coiled on the tree. The final form of Yuhu is obviously different from the one when he was in the pot. The most obvious difference is the body shape. Secondly, the final form of Yuhu is not what a human should look like, but a half human half fish form. The lower body, that should have 2 legs, is a long fish tail like a snake's tail, and there is a layer of scales on the fish tail. If Yuhu goes to the mermaid tribe to recognize his relatives, then this guy will definitely be the ugliest guy in the mermaid tribe. Chapter 637. As for Yuhu's upper body, it is much stronger than when he was in Hu form. The small hands that were underdeveloped in Hu form before have all degenerated, and instead 2 relatively healthy and strong arms have grown. Are you a monkey? Why do you always like to climb trees? Shitao Muchiro couldn't help but taunt Yuhu. Shitao Muchiro's taunting was actually to irritate Yuhu, so that Yuhu would take the initiative to come down from the tree. You little brat, do you really think I can't kill you? The reason you can survive until now is entirely because I didn't use my full strength just now. But this time, you won't be so lucky. Yuhu was very unhappy with Shitao Muchiro's complacency. After talking to Shitao Muchiro, Yuhu rarely took the initiative to attack Shitao Muchiro. In the final form, Yuhu's close combat strength has been greatly improved, which is reflected not only in strength, but also in speed. All the attacks launched by Hu in Hu form cannot reach the attack speed of the final form. In an instant, Yuhu's figure suddenly appeared in front of Shitao Muchiro, and Yuhu's arm was raised, ready to hit Shitao Muchiro. Shitao Muchiro bent down and slid, barely avoiding Yuhu's fist. Yuhu's fist immediately hit the ground, creating a deep pit with a diameter of about 3 meters and a depth of 1 meter. It can be imagined that, if this punch hit Shitao Muchiro, it would definitely kill Shitao Muchiro. Yuhu's body did not stiffen after the attack, but immediately adjusted the position of his body to prepare for the next attack. Blood Demon Art, Scale Leap Flash. Then, Yuhu was seen flashing around Shitao Muchiro quickly. Because the speed was too fast, Yuhu's flashing produced many afterimages, giving people the illusion of seeing many clones. You can't attack me with my unnatural trajectory. I like things that are unnatural the most. Just as Yuhu flashed in a miraculous and unnatural way, Yuhu's proud voice came from all directions. The voice was like 3D stereo sound, surrounding Shitao Muchiro. Facing the strange flashing Yuhu, Shitao Muchiro did not blindly choose to move his body, but stood still, alert to Yuhu's movements. Because Yuhu's body moved not only fast, but also very strangely, Shitao Muchiro was unlikely to keep up with Yuhu's movements. It's over. As Yuhu flashed behind Shitao Muchiro, Yuhu couldn't help but murmured very proudly in his heart, "Aboro." Just when Yuhu chose to attack Shitao Muchiro used his ultimate and most mysterious move, Aboro, a domain-based body movement skill, Takito Muchiro's unique skill. When the skill is activated, a thick mist area will rise within a radius of 200 meters, and Takito Muchiro's figure will fluctuate in the thick mist, like a ghost. When Takito Muchiro appears in front of the ground, it creates an illusion of slow movement for the enemy. Once the opponent launches an attack, Takito Muchiro's figure will turn into a knife and dissipate in the mist. Chapter 638, Death of Upper 5. At this time, Yuhu did not know that he was already in the territory of Takito Muchiro. When he punched, Takito Muchiro's figure turned into a ball of mist, as if Yuhu attacked an illusion created by Takito Muchiro. Fake. Yuhu was a little surprised and immediately looked around. At this time, Yuhu found that he was in a fog without knowing it. Suddenly, Yuhu, who was in the active position, became a passive situation in the blink of an eye. This was also because of the influence of the fog. Yuhu could not judge Takito Muchiro's position very well. Behind, Yuhu, who kept looking around, soon saw Takito Muchiro's figure appear again and ran away at a relatively slow speed. Too slow. Yuhu saw Takito Muchiro's running speed and couldn't help but mock. After saying that, Yuhu's long fishtail swung towards Takito Muchiro, who still did not dodge. The moment Yuhu's fishtail swung at Takito Muchiro's figure turned into a ball of mist again. Is it fake again? No, it should be an afterimage. This kid can't possibly use witchcraft. Yuhu couldn't help but mutter again. Are you competing with me in speed? Yuhu's desire to win was immediately aroused. Immediately, Yuhu also began to use Scale Leap Flash to flash into Takito Muchiro's mist field. And Takito Muchiro had been deliberately exposing his figure to lure Yuhu to attack. Yuhu knew that Takito Muchiro would escape if he attacked from behind, so he chose to face Takito Muchiro head on. In this case, even if Takito Muchiro's speed is very fast, it will only leave an afterimage. If they meet head on, they can capture Takito Muchiro's real position by the fluctuation of the air in front of them, and then effectively attack Takito Muchiro. Although Yuhu's calculations are very good, Yuhu does not know that Takito Muchiro's movement in the Aboro field will not cause fluctuations in the air. In other words, Yuhu's speed and Takito Muchiro's speed are on two different levels. Yuhu's speed is so fast that it can produce many afterimages, while Takito Muchiro's speed is so fast that people mistakenly think that he moves slowly. Yuhu's speed is simple and crude, and it is completely driven by the energy burst of the body. And Takito Muchiro's speed is to completely integrate himself with the surrounding air, achieving the state of unity between man and nature. Therefore, in a head-on collision, Yuhu's ending is undoubtedly doomed, that is, death. Yuhu not only failed to capture Takito Muchiro's real position, but also did not notice Takito Muchiro's sword at all. At the moment when the two men staggered, the figures of Takito Muchiro and Tamahyun could not help but freeze, and then Takito Muchiro's figure turned into thick mist and slowly dissipated. The real position of Takito Muchiro appeared 5 meters away, maintaining the posture, after drawing the knife. The next moment, Tamahyun, who suddenly stopped, rolled his head off his body. What? Why is everything around you turning upside down? Tamahyun, who had not yet reacted, couldn't help but be confused about the visual reversal. I say, why do you feel that you are the only one who didn't use your full strength? I didn't use my full strength either. Takito Muchiro turned around and looked at Tamahyun's falling head and said, Chapter 639, Fujiwara Sanya's Last Stand. Unlike the victory of Takito Muchiro, the Battle of Wind Pillar Fujiwara is another situation. As Dauma, who is ranked second in the upper rank, his strength is naturally not comparable to that of the 5th ranked Yuhu. In addition, Fujiwara has not opened the marking, so it is unlikely to reverse the situation. Although Fujiwara has tried very hard to fight Dauma again, Dauma can defeat Fujiwara with just 2 Iceman clones and 2 female Ice Lotus statues. In other words, Dauma only used 60% to 70% of his strength to force Fujiwara into a desperate situation. Even if he failed to kill Fujiwara easily, he would be exhausted sooner or later as time passed and wasted. At this time, Fujiwara was covered in blood, and the white robe he wore outside had been dyed bright red by blood. Coupled with the cold air attack from the 2 women's lotus ice sculptures, the temperature around them dropped to a very scary temperature. After being in such an environment for a long time, even if Fujiwara was always moving, the cold air that permeated the surroundings still made Fujiwara tend to be frozen. If it was the flame pillaring Goku Kaijiro or Bai Yu who was here, they could use the flame breathing move to raise the temperature around them. However, Fujiwara used the wind breathing, and his attack would only bring up gusts of wind. These gusts of wind would blow up the cold air around them, which undoubtedly made the cold air more pressing. This is like hurting yourself before hurting the enemy. However, the fact that Fujiwara could hold on for so long in Dauma's hands when his breathing was not an advantage, but a disadvantage was enough to show how powerful Fujiwara was. TSK can't your body bear it? Your movements are starting to become stiff. From your previous posture, aren't you going to kill me? Actually, it's boring to be a ghost for so long. It would be great if a ghost hunter could kill me. Dauma noticed that Fujiwara's movements became stiff, so he was a little disappointed. Although Dauma said that he wanted to be killed, it was obviously a joke. If Dauma really didn't want to live, he could choose to be killed by the sun during the day. At this time, Fujiwara took a lot of effort to get rid of Dauma's 2 Iceman clones, and Fujiwara's body began to stiffen from the inside. Because the more Fujiwara used his breathing, the more cold air he inhaled into his lungs. Therefore, the first to stiffen were Fujiwara's lungs. The lungs were frozen, which made it more and more difficult for Fujiwara to breathe, and he could not rely on exercise and breathing to heat his body. When did the pillars become so vulnerable? Has the Demon Slayer core begun to decline over the past 100 years? Dauma couldn't help but continue to ask Fujiwara-san in confusion. But this time, the hot-tempered Fujiwara-san didn't answer Dauma's words, because Fujiwara-san had found that his throat was frozen, and even if he wanted to say something harsh, he couldn't open his mouth. This is a disadvantage of fighting Dauma for a long time, because the longer you fight with Dauma, the more cold air you will inhale from Dauma in the battle, and this cold air will invade the body from the inside, and the first place to invade is undoubtedly the lungs. Chapter 640 Unwilling. especially in such a high intensity and fierce battle. The lungs are in a high intensity working state. In this state, the amount of air in and out of the lungs is huge. Once the lungs are frozen, they will no longer be able to breathe. This undoubtedly makes things worse. At this time, Fushiguro could already feel that breathing was gradually becoming difficult. The tyrannical Fushiguro could only force his lungs to continue working. Under this coercion, Fushiguro-shima's lungs finally couldn't bear the load. With a tearing feeling, Fushiguro-shima's blood was sprayed out of his throat. Immediately afterwards, Fushiguro-shima's body also had a chain reaction. A sense of weakness spread all over his body, and suddenly, Fushiguro-shima collapsed to the ground. If it weren't for the stubborn Fushiguro-shima who supported his body with the sun wheel sword, this would have prevented Fushiguro-shima from completely collapsing to the ground, but instead he knelt on one leg and supported his body with the sun wheel sword in his right hand. If it is a pillar using other breathing, it will be the same against Dauma. Inhaling this cold air for a long time will definitely kill you. Of course, there is still a way to resolve this situation, that is to take the initiative, to withdraw from the area covered by the cold air, and choose to avoid fighting with Dauma. This is undoubtedly a way to let Dauma survive. Moreover, it is not certain whether Dauma will let you easily withdraw from the cold air area. Another way is to bring the flame pillar using the breath of flame, and use the high temperature attack of the breath of flame to weaken, or offset the influence of Dauma's cold air. It seems that you will die without me taking action again. Dauma couldn't help laughing. After coughing up blood from his lungs, Fushiguro found that his lungs had completely stopped working, and his mind was blank in an instant. Fushiguro was not afraid of death, but was unwilling to not be able to fight anymore. Even if he became a disabled person in this battle, as long as he could kill an upper string demon, even if Fushiguro died, it would be a matter without regrets. Move, move, move. Fushiguro shouted in his heart. But no matter how hard Fushiguro tried, his body was no longer under his control. And Dauma was not in a hurry to finish off Fushiguro, but said, I might as well freeze you into an ice sculpture. Thin blood is a rare good thing. Although I never eat men, thin blood is still acceptable. Iced thin blood juice, just thinking about it is great. After that, Dauma controlled the two women's lotus ice sculptures to attack again, freezing Fushiguro in the ice. Fushiguro no longer had the ability to resist, and could only let Dauma freeze him in the thick ice. It's almost dawn. We have to speed up. I don't know what's going on with Hantengao and Yuhu. Dauma immediately looked at the sky again and murmured. Frozen in the ice, Fushiguro still maintained a strong consciousness. At this time, he finally understood Bai Yu's strength, and also understood that the upper rank demon was not as simple as he imagined. But the more this happened, the more unwilling Fushiguro felt. Thinking of his family being torn apart because of Muzan Kibutsuji, Fushiguro body was suddenly filled with the power brought by hatred. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 641, The Tattooed Fushiguro. The power of hatred and the strong willpower of Fushiguro. Even in the absence of air, Fushiguro heartbeat suddenly started to roar like an engine, and the number of beats became faster and faster. The strong belief made Fushiguro unwilling to die. Even if Fushiguro had to die, he had to kill Dauma. Belief is sometimes so magical, and it is a powerful catalyst that pushes people forward. When his heart began to beat violently, Fushiguro also felt that his body began to heat up. All these signs reminded Fushiguro of Bai Yu's last talk about marked in the meeting of the pillars, which made Fushiguro know that his body was entering a new realm. Shafungang. Suddenly, a strong wind broke out from Fushiguro body, breaking the ice that froze Fushiguro. Dauma, who was originally planning to check on Hantengu, couldn't help but stop, because with his keen perception, he also sensed the abnormality of Fushiguro. When Dauma turned around, several pieces of broken ice that were broken by Fushiguro with Shafungang flew towards Dauma. Dama immediately raised the folding fan in his hand and hit it to the other side to avoid the broken ice hitting his face. Fushiguro-san's body did not recover immediately after being rescued. When he tried to breathe again, Fushiguro-san felt a tearing pain in his lungs again. Then, Fushiguro-san coughed up blood again. After coughing up this mouthful of blood, Fushiguro-san felt better because the high temperature of his body had restored the frozen lungs. However, the previous damage to his lungs still existed. Although Fushiguro-san could breathe now, he felt pain every time he breathed. However, Fushiguro-shima didn't care about these at all. Now his body was no longer affected by the cold, and his lungs could breathe. This was the best thing for Fushiguro-shima. Dama felt that Fushiguro-shima's breath was getting stronger, and he couldn't help but feel a little confused. After all, Fushiguro-shima looked like he was about to die. That state was obviously not pretended, because Fushiguro-shima had no need to pretend. Dama soon saw that Fushiguro-shima was different from before. That was that large black spots appeared on Fushiguro-shima's face. These black spots were tilted and saw-toothed. The tilted sawtooth shape seemed to represent the strength and sharpness of the wind. The striped pattern that appeared on Fushiguro-shima was different from the striped pattern on Tokito Muchiro. This might be affected by the breathing method. Different breathing methods would produce different striped patterns. Demon marks have appeared. Has it entered another dimension? I heard from Lord Kokoshibo that swordsmen with demon marks are very powerful. Dama couldn't help but become interested because he had never met a demon hunter with marks, so he was looking forward to what would happen after Fushiguro-san got marks. But, I also heard that swordsmen with demon marks don't live long. Lord Kokoshibo was willing to become a demon because he was afraid of not living long. Dama didn't rush to act, but continued to talk to Fushiguro-san. Chapter 642, The Past of Fushiguro-miya. Why don't you consider it? How about joining us? The position of upper 6 is still vacant. Dama took the opportunity to win over Fushiguro-shima because Dama is not a belligerent character, which is why Dama used the Iceman clone to deal with Fushiguro-shima before. However, Fushiguro-shima, who lost his family because of Muzan Kibutsuji, would never agree to Dama because no one can understand that it is such a painful and helpless choice to end the life of his mother who has become a ghost with his own hands. And Fushiguro-shima's behavior at that time also caused his young brother Fushiguro-zuanaya to misunderstand, which is why the relationship between the two brothers was severed. At that time, Shima's mother, who had become a ghost, attacked her children after returning home. Because his mother went out late, Fushiguro-shima returned home after going out to look for his mother in vain. However, when Fushiguro-shima returned home and went to his brother and sister's sleeping room to check on them, Fushiguro-shima saw a black shadow squatting beside the bed and making chewing sounds. At first, Shimizu thought that a wild beast in the mountains had run into his house, and he fought with it without hesitation. In the process of wrestling, Shimizu found that the one who killed his brother and sister was not a wild beast, but his mother who had not returned home for a long time. After that, the tragedy began. Because Zuanmi was worried about his brother Shimizu, when his brother did not come back to find his mother, after coaxing his younger brother and sister to sleep, he also went to find Shimizu and his mother without worry. It was also because of this that Zuanmi may have escaped, but he also saw the scene of his brother who misunderstood him at that time. Whoever saw that scene would misunderstand, and the gap often came like this. Although Shimizu tried his best to explain to his brother at that time, Zuanmi did not believe his brother. The frustrated Shimizu chose to bear all the things alone. Shimizu's mother slowly turned into ashes as the sun rose. Finally, after finishing the aftermath of the family affairs, Fushiguro-shima left his brother Zuanaya and left the broken home alone. Then, by chance, Fushiguro-shima came into contact with the Demon Slayer Corps and joined the Demon Slayer Corps. From then on, Fushiguro-shima's temperament gradually changed. Stop talking nonsense. You ghosts, owe me a debt. Even if you die in front of me 10,000 times, it is not enough to pay it back. Die. Fushiguro-shima ordered Dama. Wind breathing, one form, dust wind whirl slash. After saying that, Fushiguro-shima used dust wind whirl slash again and took the initiative to rush towards Dama. When Dauma saw Fushiguro take action directly, the two female lotus ice sculptures floating beside him immediately spit out cold air towards Fushiguro. At the same time, Dauma felt that the cold air attack of the female ice sculpture was not fierce enough, so he took the initiative to wave the folding fan in his hand. Blood Demon Art, Ice Lotus Sky. A large number of ice lotus petals shot towards Busaguro like machine gun bullets. Dauma used Ice Lotus Sky, naturally intending to repeat the same trick and deal a blow to Busaguro. After all, Ice Lotus Sky had broken Busaguro-san's cylindrical spiral wind blade before. Chapter 643, Reversal of Situation. But this time, the situation was not like last time. Those ice lotus petals, like bullets, were all shattered by the wind blades after hitting the cylindrical spiral wind blades wrapped in Jiro. The cold air exhaled by the female ice lotus statue did not freeze Jiro, but was blown away by the cylindrical spiral wind blades. The reason why Jiro did not appear in the situation at the beginning this time was that the marking was activated, and the second was that the temperature of the wind blade was different from before. At this time, the wind blades created by Jiro were all hot. Although this temperature could not be compared with the flames of the breath of fire, the ability to resist low temperatures was increased compared to before. Therefore, these high temperature wind blades, when contacting the ice lotus petals of Dauma, have the effect of softening the ice lotus petals, and the softened ice lotus petals can be more easily chopped by the wind blades. In the blink of an eye, Jiro had already flashed in front of Dauma. After Dauma realized that something was wrong, he immediately waved his fan to meet it. Suddenly, the sun wheel sword that Fushiguro swung at Dauma hit Dauma's folding fan. It was also at this time that the two female ice lotus statues spit out cold air at Fushiguro from close range. The extremely cold air was sprayed on Fushiguro, and Fushiguro-san's extremely high body temperature collided with the cold air and immediately produced a lot of mist. Wind breathing, land type, black wine smoke mist. The first time the cold air blew on him, Fushiguro immediately used black wine rock mist to break the deadlock. Although Fushiguro could resist the cold air more easily with the high temperature generated by the body when the marking was activated, this did not mean that Fushiguro was completely immune to the cold air. Directly attacked by Dauma's cold air, Fushiguro-san's body would still become stiff over time, but after activating the marking, the body temperature would be much higher than usual, which would make Fushiguro less likely to be frozen. While Fushiguro Minoru's attack forced Dauma back, Fushiguro Minoru once again launched an attack with a black wind blade from bottom to top. This time the attack was not aimed at Dauma, but at the two female ice lotus statues that were breathing out cold air. With this attack, the two ice lotus statues were chopped into pieces by Fushiguro Minoru. Seeing this, Dauma, who was forced to retreat, couldn't help but mutter in his heart. Sure enough, he became stronger after having the demon pattern. Blood Demon Art Crystal Goddess. Blood Demon Art Ice Vine Entanglement. Dauma also used two Blood Demon Arts immediately after Fushiguro Minoru chopped off his female ice lotus statue. Then, two clones of Dauma's Iceman were summoned by Dauma, and at the same time, the ground around Dauma suddenly grew many lotus pods and lotus flowers made of ice. The stems of these lotus pods and lotus flowers grew rapidly like vines, and gathered towards Fushiguro Minoru, as if intending to entangle Fushiguro Minoru tightly. As for the two Iceman clones, they also aimed at Fushiguro, and threw the ice folding fans in their hands. Fushiguro immediately stomped his feet, and jumped into the air. Wind breathing, Form 5, Cold Autumn Mountain Wind. Fushiguro, who was suspended in the air, immediately did a somersault, making himself upside down, and then Fushiguro-san's body twisted under the drive of his waist, and instantly a huge vortex wind blade appeared. Chapter 644, Injured Again. The huge spiral wind blade cut the ice vines close to Jigokudani into several sections, and also destroyed the ice fan thrown by the Iceman. Then, the tip of Jigokudani's knife hit the ground, and Jigokudani flipped sideways and landed safely. At the moment Jigokudani landed, the two Iceman clones of Dauma had already rushed in front of Jigokudani, and then launched a pincer attack on Jigokudani. This left Jigokudani no chance to breathe, and he could only raise his knife to fight immediately. The two sides fell into a fierce fight. Blood Demon Art, Mysterious Winter Ice Pillar. I saw Dauma continue to launch his Blood Demon Art, and then many sharp ice pillars fell from the sky, where Jigakudani and the Ice Blade clone were fighting. The attack in the air was indeed difficult for Jigakudani to deal with, and this was still a battle between the two Iceman clones, so he couldn't spare his hands for the time being. So, Fushiguro Sanya had to use Dust Wind Whirl Slash to move himself out of the attack range of Zuandong Ice Pillar. Wind Breathing, First Form, Dust Wind Whirl Slash. As soon as Dust Wind Whirl Slash was used, Dauma's two Iceman clones were knocked to the ground by Fushiguro Sanya, and the arm of one of the Iceman clones was cut off by the Wind Blade. However, the Iceman clones have no sense of pain and cannot regenerate themselves. Seeing that Fushiguro Sanya wanted to break out, one of the Iceman clones actually activated the Blood Demon Art, Ice Vine Entanglement. Suddenly, a large number of ice vines broke out of the ground around the cylindrical spiral wind blade that wrapped around Fushiguro Sanya and chased after him. The other Iceman clone activated another Blood Demon Art, Ice Wall Interception. A thick ice wall immediately appeared in front of the direction that Fushiguro Sanya withdrew, and even the cylindrical spiral wind blade could not break the ice wall. Jigokudashi hit the ice wall at once, and the ice vines that followed behind him quickly entangled Jigokudashi's hands and feet, and then 5 ice vines pulled Jigokudashi's limbs in different directions, and Jigokudashi was spread out in the air. Evil Wind Gang. When Jigokudashi was controlled, Jigokudashi used the surrounding airflow and the stimulation of breathing to create a powerful wind gang. Jigokudashi used Evil Wind Gang to cut off the ice vines, and a sharp icicle fell from the sky and fell towards Jigokudashi's abdomen, and then pierced Jigokudashi's abdomen. The sudden attack made Jigokudashi cough out a breath. The icicle that pierced Jigokudashi's stomach turned scarlet and stuck straight into the ground. At this time, Jigokudashi lost control of the ice vines and was falling down. It can be said that, if he fell like this, Jigokudashi would be injured again by the icicle. Maybe, this time, Jiro will be seriously injured and lose his fighting ability, because the ice pillar is as thick as an adult's wrist. Jiro was pierced just now, and a hole visible to the naked eye appeared in Jiro's stomach. Jiro naturally realized this dangerous situation, so he turned his lying posture 90 degrees, which was also the maximum avoidance Jiro could make. Chapter 645, Poisoned Muchiro. When Yuhu's head completely touched the ground, his expression suddenly froze, as if he had reacted. Cut? His neck was cut off? Yuhu couldn't help but mutter in his heart. Damn it. How could this happen? I'm the 5th of the 12 demons. I actually had my neck cut off by a little demon. I'm a very noble creature. You lowly bugs should be my food, and then made into noble works of art. This is the meaning of your existence. Yuhu, who finally couldn't accept the facts, started to insult humans. How could I die? How could I die? I won't die. I don't want to die. Unwilling to give up, Yuhu was still trying to regenerate himself, but this time his efforts were in vain. After hearing Yuhu's insults, Shitao Muchiro said angrily, "You scum, you really should die soon. I said I would take your head to commemorate the dead Zyoti. Now go and complete your mission." After that, Shitao Muchiro attacked Yuhu's head again. The scene is really not suitable for description, but Shitao Muchiro's second attack accelerated Yuhu's death. At this time, the seriously injured Tixosan knelt in front of Zyato's body. Although Tixosan was wearing a mask and could not see his sad crying, he could hear that Tixosan's crying was unusually sad. Shitao Muchiro, who had dealt with Yuhu, was attracted by Tixosan's sad crying, and then turned to Tixosan's side and said very self-blamingly, "Zyoti died because of saving me, I'm sorry." The last sorry was the 3 most emotional words Shitao Muchiro said after losing his memory. Tixosan sorted out his emotions and then said to Shitao Muchiro, "It's not your fault. After all, Mr. Shitao has solved the ghost that killed Kotetsu, and Kotetsu can leave with peace of mind. However, the mechanical puppet handed down by Kotetsu's family may really be lost." Just as Tixosan finished speaking, Shitao Muchiro suddenly fell heavily to the ground. Shitao Muchiro's sudden fall to the ground also made Tixosan nervous. Tixosan immediately went forward to check on Shitao Muchiro's condition and found that Shitao Muchiro's mouth was spitting a lot of white foam as if he was poisoned. Mr. Shitao, are you okay? Don't scare me. Tixazan nervously shook Shitao Muchiro, who fainted from the poison, and a steel mound in his own world was still polishing the sun wheel sword from the Warring States period. At the same time that Shitao Muchiro won, Tanjiro had also found the area where the smell of Hantengu's body was, but Tanjiro did not see Hantengu's body. At this moment, the figure of Fusago Uzuanaya suddenly flew out from the bushes behind Tanjiro and then hit a tree heavily. Fusago Uzuanaya's sudden appearance really surprised Tanjiro and also made Tanjiro sure that the direction he was looking for was correct. Obviously, joy, anger, sadness, and joy also knew that they were looking for their bodies, so they rushed over here. Chapter 646 Let My Sister Go. Zu and me go straight to the northeast. The fifth ghost is hiding nearby. Go and I'll cover you, Tanjiro shouted immediately. Hearing this, Fusago and me immediately got up and ran in the direction pointed by Tanjiro. Tanjiro turned and rushed to the bushes behind him. After passing through the bushes, Tanjiro saw that Nezuko had been stabbed into the tree trunk by the Ghost of Sorrow with a spear. Seeing this, Tanjiro was filled with anger, and because of anger, the veins on Tanjiro's forehead were bulging. Don't touch my sister, Tanjiro shouted and rushed forward. God of Fire Kagura, Dragon of Halo Talma. Although Joy, Anger, and Ayla had suffered a loss last time, this time when the four of them saw Tanjiro again, they did not retreat at all, because at this time Tanjiro's demon slaying sword did not ignite the two-color flame. If it did, Joy, Anger, and Ayla would definitely be scared away. When Angry Devil saw Tanjiro's appearance, he immediately wanted to insert the tin stick in one hand into the ground, and then let the surrounding ground pass through thunder, so that Tanjiro could not get close. We can't let him release thunder and lightning. Tanjiro also noticed Angry Devil's actions, and then he knew what Angry Devil wanted to do. Therefore, Tanjiro's first target of attack was to attack Angry Devil. When Angry Devil was about to insert the tin stick into the ground, Tanjiro's figure had already flashed in front of him, and then Angry Devil's hand holding the tin stick was bitten off by a purple fire dragon. But in fact, Angry Devil's arm was cut off by Tanjiro with a demon slaying sword burning with purple flames. And Happy Devil in the air immediately launched a sonic attack on Tanjiro, but Tanjiro was very fast and could easily change his trajectory, just like a rapidly rotating dragon, extremely flexible. On the other side, Nezuko, who was pierced through the belly by the spear of the Demon of Sorrow and nailed to the tree trunk, was not willing to be outdone. Nezuko reached out and grabbed the Demon of Sorrow's hair, then pulled him in front of her, and then gave the Demon of Sorrow a bear hug. In order to prevent the Demon of Sorrow from breaking free, Nezuko's legs were also tightly clamped around the Demon of Sorrow's waist. If this was between lovers, it would be a very intimate move and gesture. If Zenitsu Uzuma was here, he would probably go berserk and cut the Demon of Sorrow into several pieces to vent his anger. But at this time, Nezuko's move was not to seduce the Demon of Sorrow, but to make her pierced abdomen close to the Demon of Sorrow, so that the blood would be stained on the Demon of Sorrow's body, and then Nezuko could use her own blood ghost art, Explosion Blood, to cause damage to the Demon of Sorrow. Therefore, the wonderful experience of Ghost of Sorrow was short-lived. The next moment, Ghost of Sorrow was burned by Nezuko's blood, and Ghost of Sorrow screamed all of a sudden. Nezuko did hold him tighter and tighter. After Tanjiro dodged Ghost of Joy's sonic attack, he suddenly ran to a tree, his whole body perpendicular to the trunk, and then used the tree to kick and launched into the air. The whole process happened in an instant. In front of the naked eye, the purple fire dragon that merged with Tanjiro suddenly turned 180 degrees and flew into the air and then bit off Ghost of Joy's wings. Chapter 647 Nezuko's Death Embrace. The happy ghost that lost its wings immediately fell from the sky, and Tanjiro twisted again, causing the purple flame dragon to twist its body shape. After that, Tanjiro attacked Happy Ghost. When Happy Ghost attacked Tanjiro, none of them attacked. This was because Tanjiro's speed was too fast and his position changed in the blink of an eye. So, Happy Ghost didn't dare to attack blindly. If he did, it would easily knock others away. When Happy Ghost saw Tanjiro coming towards him, he knew that the opportunity to contact Tanjiro head-on had come, and it was also an opportunity to hit Tanjiro better. Tanjiro also knew that his frontal charge into Happy Ghost was also giving the other party an opportunity to attack. Now it was a matter of who could attack faster. Facing Tanjiro's surprise attack, Happy Ghost did not rush to attack, but waited for Tanjiro to get close to him. Only when Tanjiro got close to him, Tanjiro would lose the opportunity to dodge. And, Leshide was not afraid of being attacked by Tanjiro, because as an emotional clone, Leshide did not have to worry about being killed. Therefore, as long as Leshide could ensure that his attack could hit Tanjiro, it would definitely be able to effectively hit Tanjiro. Even if he could not kill Tanjiro instantly, it would still be Tanjiro who would suffer in a war of attrition. Leshide fought with this idea in mind, and indeed, he had just the right time to attack. When Tanjiro appeared in front of him, Leshide slapped the top of Tanjiro's head from top to bottom like a badminton smash. This time, Tanjiro was slapped directly to the ground, and the place where Tanjiro lay down happened to be a huge leaf-shaped collapse. At this time, Tanjiro's mouth was very big, and his whole expression seemed to be frightened. The whites of his eyes were slightly turned up, and blood was flowing out of his nostrils. Because the fire dragon resisted part of the damage, Tanjiro did not faint this time. However, Tanjiro's brain was indeed greatly impacted, and his consciousness became a little fuzzy, while a buzzing sound kept echoing in his ears. The successful Leshide was immediately happier in his heart, and he also planned to take this opportunity to attack Tanjiro again, and get rid of Tanjiro in one go. But at this moment, the fan in Leshide's hand suddenly broke into two parts, and the fan and the handle were divided into two parts. The damage to the fan made Leshide unable to attack Tanjiro all of a sudden. Then, Leshide's arm suddenly split, and purple flames burned at the cut. Leshide then realized that his arm was cut by Tanjiro. Leshide thought that Tanjiro would attack his neck, but he did not expect to attack the arm holding the fan. The purple flames burned Leshide in great pain, and Leshide couldn't help but scream out. However, Lizinki's reaction was still very quick. As soon as he discovered that his fan was destroyed and his arm was cut into two parts, Lizinki gave up the idea of attacking with the fan and instead planned to stomp on Tanjiro's head with his foot. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 648, Stalemate Battle. At this critical moment, Nezuko, who had already gotten rid of the Demon of Sorrow, kicked the Demon of Joy with a flying kick, and then kicked the Demon of Joy to the ground. Then, Nezuko protected Tanjiro. Tanjiro, whose head was still extremely painful, couldn't help but mutter Nezuko's name, and at the same time, climbed up with difficulty. At this moment, Tanjiro's nose felt the movement of the smell of Hantengu's body, so he immediately shouted at the top of his voice, "Zuenmi, that guy moved to the south." Hantengu's body refused to show up, making Tanjiro more certain that the fifth demon hiding was Hantengu's weakness. Fusagor Zuenmi was nearby, so he could hear Tanjiro's deliberate shouting. Although the sound was transmitted, and the volume became much weaker, it was still possible to hear Tanjiro's words more clearly. So, Fusagor Zuenmi had to grope to the south. But Fusagor Zuenaya, who had not seen the ghost, was also a little anxious. If Hantengu's real body was nearby, such a big target would obviously be easy to find, but Fusagor Zuenaya didn't even see a shadow. The situation was indeed a little abnormal. However, Fusagor Zuenaya did not doubt Tanjiro's judgment, because joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness all gathered here actively, so it was obvious that the real body was here, otherwise they would have no reason to be so defensive. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Did you use blood demon art, so people can't see it? Fusagor Azunaya was extremely anxious because he hated this situation the most. Compared with hide and seek, Fusagor Azunaya still preferred head-on confrontation. Tanjiro, who got up, immediately reported another direction to Fusagor Azunaya. To the right of your west, it's near you. As soon as Tanjiro finished speaking, the happy ghost, whose wings were cut off, immediately launched a sonic attack on Tanjiro. Without wings, the Devil of Joy can no longer fly, and the Devil of Joy's limbs are still in the form of eagle claws, so it is impossible to move at high speed on the ground with those eagle claws, let alone fight Tanjiro head-on. Even if the Devil of Joy can change its eagle claws into normal limbs, the Devil of Joy has long been accustomed to fighting in the air. Even if it gives up the half-human half-beast form, it is difficult to deal with Tanjiro. Because in terms of fighting, except for the Devil of Sorrow, who is good at fighting with a spear, the three of Joy, Anger, and Joy are not good at it. The Devil of Wrath is the one who can't fight in close combat at all, while the Devil of Joy uses the acceleration of flying to launch a flash attack on the enemy. That is a dirty style of fighting that distances itself after one attack, and there is no fighting skill in it at all. Although Music Demon doesn't have very powerful fighting skills, he is good at close combat. In other words, Angry Demon's fighting style is like a gangster fight. Happy Demon's sound waves suddenly made Tanjiro's head hurt even more. Tanjiro immediately covered his ears, trying to weaken the stimulation of the sound waves on the eardrum and brain. If the sound pillar Yuzu Tenjin was here, he might be able to easily dissolve Happy Demon's sound waves. After all, sound breathing can produce high-frequency vibrations, and high-frequency vibrations acting on objects can also produce high-frequency sound waves. In other words, if Yuzu Tenjin faced Happy Demon, he would definitely not be affected by the sound waves. Chapter 649 Chasing the Body. The Devil of Joy launched a sonic attack on Tanjiro, the main purpose of which was to stop Tanjiro from continuing to tip off the enemy, so that Tanjiro's voice would not reach the ears of Fusagor Azunaya. Fusagor Azunaya, who had already received the news, suddenly turned his body to the west, and then scanned the surroundings, but still did not see the figure of Han Tengu. But Tanjiro said that it was near him, so it should be within the range that the naked eye could see. Finally, Fusagor Azunaya looked up at the trees above his head. At the moment when Fusagor Azunaya looked up, Fusagor Azunaya heard a slight commotion in the haystack under his feet. Immediately, Fusagor Azunaya looked down. As a result, he saw a slight fluctuation in the haystack. Could it be some small animal? Fusagor Azunaya immediately calmed down, and then suddenly used the short knife in his hand to poke the haystack, as if he was planning to drive the things in the haystack out by surprise. As a result, something really came out of the haystack. Fusagor Azunaya looked carefully, and found that it was a very small person, even smaller than a baby, just like a mouse. All of a sudden, Fusagor Azunaya realized that this little person was the fifth ghost he was looking for, the real body of Han Tengu. No wonder he hadn't seen him before. So this is what happened. Han Tengu, who was as short as a mouse, fled away at a very fast speed after being discovered by Fusagor Azunaya. Fusagor Azunaya saw that the little thing was so fast and immediately ran after it. If he was a little slower, he would probably have been out of sight. If he wanted to find it at that time, it would take some more effort. Moreover, Fusagor Azunaya also heard the harsh sound waves, so he knew in his heart that Tanjiro was unlikely to pass on the location information to him now, so he must not lose the target that appeared. Don't run. Fusagor Azunaya immediately scolded. But the scolding of Fusagor Azunaya was destined to have no effect. If Han Tengu's body would stop, it would not only be strange, but also dangerous. During the chase, Fusagor Azunaya took out his hot weapon musket, then aimed at Han Tengu's body, and finally pulled the trigger. Although the flying ammunition did not hit the short Han Tengu's body, it made his body stop for a short time. After avoiding the ammunition, Han Tengu's body started running again. However, it was also because of this short pause that the distance between Fusagor Azunaya and Han Tengu's body was shortened a lot. Don't hurt me. I'm just a weak life. Hantengao's body opened its mouth and begged Fushiguro Zuanaya not to hurt itself. But at the same time, Fushiguro Zuanaya obviously would not listen to him. Weak your sister. You are a guy who will not die well. Fushiguro Zuanaya immediately said angrily. Woo woo woo, I'm just a poor and helpless old man. Why hurt me? Hantengao's body continued to say pitifully. As soon as he finished speaking, Fushiguro Zuanaya aimed at Hantengu's body again and fired another shot. The two of them got much closer, and when the distance was close enough for him to use the short Nichiren sword to hit Hantengu's body, Fushiguro Zuanaya swung the sword without hesitation. Chapter 650 Crazy Idea. The knife of Fushiguro Zuanaya was aimed at the neck of Hantengu's body. In a second, Fushiguro Zuanaya's short Nichiren sword touched the neck of Hantengu's body, which made Fushiguro Zuanaya happy, and at the same time he increased the strength and speed of his arm swinging the knife. Win. Fushiguro Zuanaya said in his heart. But before Fushiguro Zuanaya could be happy for long, the next moment, Fushiguro Zuanaya's face rose. Because Fushiguro Zuanaya's Nichiren sword was broken, and Hantengu's body was not hurt at all, just holding his head and trembling in place, and kept saying in his mouth, "Don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. Such a thin neck, how can it be cut off?" Fushiguro Zuanaya couldn't accept it in his heart, but Fushiguro Zuanaya didn't completely lose his composure, but took out the musket and reloaded a round of ammunition, and then immediately put the muzzle in front of Hantengu's head. At this time, it was unknown whether Hantengao's body was really frightened or not. He did not run away, but stood still and trembled. The next second, Fushiguro Zuanaya pulled the trigger. Shooting at such a close distance, the bullets had no space to fly, and all hit Hantengao's body. Suddenly, the smoke produced by the gunpowder explosion drowned Hantengao's body in it. It hurts. Hantengao's body screamed. Did it succeed? Hearing Hantengao's scream, Fushiguro Zuanaya was not sure whether the ammunition had smashed Hantengao's head. Then, Fushiguro Zuanaya saw Hantengao's body rolling on the ground in pain. Although Hantengao's body looked very painful, there was no damage on Hantengao's body. Two ineffective attacks made Fushiguro Zuanaya lose his mind. The attacks of the sunblade and the musket were ineffective. How could he get rid of Hantengao's body? This made Fushiguro Zuanaya feel a little frustrated. The enemy was standing in front of him and being beaten, but he couldn't cause any harm to the enemy. Moreover, the rolling of Hantengao's body seemed to Fushiguro Zuanaya to be a deliberate mockery of himself, which made him very unhappy. Fushiguro Zuanaya couldn't help but have an idea in his mind, that is, to bite Hantengao's body with his mouth and then swallow it. If it were someone else, it would definitely not be possible to have such an idea. The reason why Fushiguro Zuanaya had this idea was that his ghost transformation ability prompted him to think of eating ghosts when he encountered a situation that he couldn't solve. Because eating ghosts can gain abilities equivalent to this ghost, and the situation can be reversed. Moreover, the reason why Fushiguro Zuanaya can eat ghosts is also due to the amazing bite force of teeth and strong digestive ability. These two abilities can ensure that Fushiguro Zuanaya can bite off the ghost's meat or some part of the body tissue and quickly absorb the body tissue of the ghost eaten by the stomach through the strong digestive ability, thereby gaining the ghost transformation ability. In addition, Hantengu's body is about the same size as a mouse, so it is easy to bite it whole and swallow it. Although Fushiguro Zuanaya's idea seems feasible, it is actually very risky. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.